Good evening and welcome to the Formula Racing League Assetto Corsa Competizione. Round 8 takes us to Watkins, Glen, New York. Tom Cairns, your commentator, over the next hour and a half. And I'll be going through everything you need to know during the course of this evening in regards to what's going on in practice, what's going on in the 15-minute qualifying session, and the 60-minute race that'll be coming up very soon. 3 races to go then, and it's looking as though Rapid Duck is a firm favourite to win the title. There he is in your picture in the number 48 BMW. That championship is coming ever nearer to him on the back of that performance last week at Alton Park. Race win number 3 from pole position. He's picked up 2 poles now. He'll be going for pole number 3 and race win number 4 to take him a giant step closer to the championship. He could mathematically win the title here, but he'll need a victory and then a lot of misfortune to go his way. I'm sure he won't be thinking about trying to wrap it up here. But even if he does win it, if he doesn't wrap it up, there's always next week at Spa-Francorchamps. We're coming towards the end of the final quarter of an hour of practice. We've got a number of drivers missing. We'll go through that in a moment as Rapid Duck comes into the pit lane. For a brief moment, I think that was just him practicing his pit lane entry to make sure he stays within the required limit of 50 miles an hour. It might be 50 kilometers an hour, actually, thinking of it. So, Rapid Duck fastest at the moment. We'll run down on the absentees for this evening. And just bear with me one moment. Vodka, who's second in the championship, not around this evening, unfortunately. Both of the Prentice drivers, so J Prentice and L Prentice, not around. P. David also missing, as is Palermo. So that's 5 full-time drivers missing. I will confirm that Milden has been taken on in a full-time position, previously a reserve driver, but he's joined up alongside Will Freeman in the Infinite Racing outfit. So Freeman will have a quality teammate alongside him. Milden, a very quick driver. Last season, he was runner-up in the Tier 1 category, finishing 19 points off Drifter. And Drifter is one of the 4 reserve drivers called up for tonight. So along with him, we've got Brandon Glover, who's been previously a reserve in other rounds this season. Drifter, Nils and LJ. Those are the 4 being drafted in. Let's say that Cole Racing is in the number 444 Bentley. I don't think we've had him previously in other rounds this season, as far as I remember. So this could well be his first race of the campaign. Might have been promoted up from Tier 2, who knows, but we've got a huge grid for tonight. We've got 26 in the lobby. We could well have another 1 or 2 missing. We'll see as the final moments of practice and maybe qualifying goes. Boostoff has gone to the top with a 144.4, with Law in second place, 2/10 behind. Now Law wasn't around last week. That's the second race he's missed. He's back in for tonight. Race winner at Paul Ricard 3 weeks ago. Rapid Duck is in third with Nils fourth. And it's Drifter Looking at 2 of the reserve drivers in the top 5. We've got Milden in 10th place with LJ 14th. So the reserve drivers are doing a super job so far. Glover is down at the back in 25th. Looks so that Aldora's got in now, so that's 27 runners we've got in. This is probably the biggest grid we've got since the opening rounds at the Hungaroring, when we had a full house of 29. So there's Cole 44 Racing, who's just going over the line now. I didn't quite pick up on where he ended up, unfortunately. I was just trying to find him and see how he got on. He's in 12th place now, with some work to do from there. There has been the latest patch. The latest patch is Law's gone to the top now with 1.40. There is a latest patch, but the downside of it, I'm not able to use the alternate cameras, the TV cameras that is. But I'm still able to switch between the onboards and the TV camera when I click on drive. So that's a bit of a shame. Nothing we can do about that. We'll just have to make do with what it is we have now. So we've had 7 rounds of the championship. We've got 3 races to go, as I've already mentioned. Watkins Glen tonight, Spa next week, and then the last round will be at Monza, which will be a 90-minute special. It'll include 2 mandatory pit stops to wrap up the season. Now Rapidoc goes into this round 37 points clear of Vodka, but should he stay out of trouble, that lead could be as large as at least 53 points. Morex has not made it into the lobby yet, as far as I know. He might do it at the last moment before qualifying begins. Let's hope so anyway. It's good to see if he's actually checked in for tonight. Just having a quick look. And he has checked in, so we should see him on track very soon. So Rapidoc in 3rd place in this session. Won't be too worried about that. I'm uncertain as to what time the race start is expected to be here this evening. Watkins Gunners Drifter goes 3rd now. Rapidoc is coming around to complete a lap. Couldn't quite tell whether it was an improvement from earlier. And he's gone to 2nd place now with a 1:44.3. This is the 8th season of Taco Tuesday. There's all the other different leagues that is going on within the Formula Racing League as we speak. Do feel free to get involved in it if you're thinking about joining. Of course, there's the website, the Formula Racing League website you can have a look at, as well as the Discord chat, and of course the Facebook and Instagram pages for you to simply follow, and you can keep yourself right up to date with everything that's happening within the FRL ACC. And don't forget to like and subscribe also. We want to try and get to 600 subscribers before the end of this current campaign. So if you haven't already subscribed, do make sure you do just that. Boost obviously in 3rd place. Drifter in that multicoloured 511 Lamborghini, different to what we've seen from him in previous rounds. He is a reserve driver, so his points won't count towards the championship by any means. And he hasn't raced at every race, as far as I know. Goes to P2, fractionally a fraction slower than what Law had posted. There is Nils making his way through the left-hander. Turn 12, I think that is. Or it might be 13 actually. This is 14. And then the last corner of turn 15. So Nils goes over the line. And this one will be not an improvement. Let's go on board with Lewis Robinson then, as he takes us on a lap of this circuit, if we can pick up on him. So, here we go. So through turn 2, 220 kilometres an hour in 5th gear. Brace yourself for turn 3 and 4, nearly touching the barrier on the inside. And as you come down the back straight, and then towards the inner loop that we are going through now. A sequence of corners, 4 turns before you approach the hairpin of turn number 9. It would be turn 5, but with the addition of the inner loop of those quick chicanes, it will be turn 9. This is turn 10. Brake in a straight line before you start turning in. 140 kilometers an hour in 3rd gear. Taking the curb on the outside, coming down as you go uphill again into turn number 11. And a nice exit using the extra tarmac on the outside before you hit the grass. And now you're heading towards the right-hander as Lewis actually slows down to a halt. So we'll go to Andy, who's going through turn 11 now. He's on an improvement, so he shouldn't slow down at this point. So turn 12 I should say, coming up now. Braking down into 2nd gear. 100 kilometers an hour. And then placing the car to the right for the left-hander of 13. And then the sweeping left-hander of 14. Going to ease off the throttle as you go through. Don't take too much curve on the outside, as that can throw you around. Turn 15, not too much of an issue. Just avoiding the wall on the exit. And that completes the lap of this Watkins Glen International Racetrack. Previous home of the US Grand Prix, of course. The last one they hosted was in 1980. Before the US Grand Prix was moved over. Well, it was not held as the US Grand Prix. Well, the US Grand Prix stage name wasn't used until 1989 when Phoenix bought the rights for that, because we did have numerous races in the US in the 80s after Watkins Glen, in Detroit, Caesars Palace and Dallas, and Long Beach as well. So Formula One's love affair with the US is clearly there. We're into the final couple of minutes now anyway, and Moore is still top with Drifter next, and it's Rapidok and Busov. Busov carrying on his good form recently. So Busov, who's had 3 top 10 finishes in the last 3 races, 3rd in Paul Ricard, 10th in Barcelona, and 6th last week at Alton Park. Doing very well at the moment in the championship. Definite improvement. He's up to 15th now, but that's because he switched cars during the course of the season, which meant the scores of the rounds prior to the change had been expunged. So he's 15th overall in the championship. So we're hoping to pick up even more in these last 3 races. And it'll be a good sign for him next season, should he stick around. And there's Clayton in P7 in the number 500 Mercedes AMG. Just looking to see if there's anyone that's joined. Moritz has joined now, which is good news. We did see someone drop out for a moment ago, but hopefully they'll come back in by the time qualifying does begin, as Clayton pulls off the track. And there's Davis Jr., who's already missed around the season, but driver's 9 best scores counts instead of 10. So Davis Jr. won't need to drop any points by the time the season is over, as he slows down to a halt. So he's not going to complete the lap he was on. So Davis Jr. is 62 points behind in the championship. He could do with a race win. He's finished second at Hungaroring, third in Barcelona, fourth at Silverstone. But he hasn't picked up a race win just yet. And boy, could he do with one. Will Freeman is in the championship frame, although the last couple of rounds, maybe 3 actually, haven't exactly gone the way he has hoped to have done. And this is the driver who finished second in the PS4 category last season. And this season hasn't exactly gone the way he had hoped for. I think we've got a couple of drivers out on the racetrack at the moment. Glover is one of them, so we'll stay with him. I think he's already taken the checker flag, actually, so we'll go to the 34th Papizzle, who had his worst performance of the season so far, 18th at Alton Park. Currently 6th in the Drivers' Championship is the man from the Czech Republic. And this lap time is currently 19th. We're hoping to move up the order right at the end. And did he move up the order at the end of free practice? Let's have a look. He moved up to 10th place by the end of that. So that's quite an improvement actually, right at the end there for Vissel. But qualifying is underway now. We've got 27 drivers in the lobby. And Rapiduc and Hutchison are wasting no time in getting out there. 15 minutes may sound like a lot of time, but to the drivers, it's not. You've got to complete your out lap and then your flying lap to get your first lap time in, and that takes the best part of 4 minutes to do. So what will this qualifying session bring for the drivers? Track temperature 23 degrees Celsius, air temperature of 17. The time at the moment at the track is 2 PM, so we shouldn't expect any darkness during the course of this qualifying session. And whilst we wait for the drivers to start their flying laps, I will mention the Teams Championship, of which the TK Rex Motorsport squad are in the lead by 8 points over the Tuga Racing Team. Now, TK Rex have Morex and Vodka Fizzle in there. The Tuga Racing Team have Rapiduc and Rui alongside each other within that squad. In third at the moment, a further 9 points behind, are the FRL Admin Elite Motorsport squad. Lewis Robinson and Hutchinson in the seats for that. And then another 10 points adrift is Ray Thomas and Law in the Pro Motion Motorsport team. Co-Brown Racing with Vodka and Palermo not around tonight, unfortunately, so they're not going to be able to improve the scores for that team, which could leave the door open for Moggs and Mertens to take advantage and get themselves into the frame to win the team's championship by the end of the campaign. So every point counts. It's 40 points for a race win, 38 for second, 36 for third. It's a 2-point difference between each position from the race win to 11th, and then from 11th all the way to the back is a 1-point difference. And you also get a point for qualifying on pole position as well, which Rapiduc has achieved that on 2 occasions. So Hutchison is on a fast lap. He's just behind Rapiduc actually, who has gone through turn 10 as we speak. And Glover is the only driver in the pits at the moment. Could do with getting out there and getting some laps in. So Rapiduc approaching turn number 13 as he approaches turn 14 also. Now what is this lap time going to be? We are expecting lap times to be in the low 1 minute 44s at least. So they may be slower to begin with, but they'll pick up as the session progresses. So Rubber Duck posts the first time, 1:45.4. Hutchison slower by 0.8. What about the others behind? Well, Busov's gone second. McCoskey's gone to the top with 1:45.3. Rubber Duck drops down to second place. Ray is in third. And it's Fighter, Busov, Robinson and Hutchinson. Drifter goes top, 1:44.5. That's a radical improvement on all the others. I did say a low 1 minute 44 is what's expected to be the pole position time. Davis Jr. goes second with a 1:44.8. Work to do for him, but it's a good start nevertheless. Ben Milden, third in the number 5 Ferrari, 0.5 off the pace. 1:45.0 for him. We've got Nils in the 1:44 Ferrari in the top 4 at the moment. Kosky down to 5th, Rubber Duck down to 6th. Make that 7th because Moritz gets himself up to P3 in the high 1 minute 44s. We've got more drivers heading over the line. We've got the 34 going over. That's Pavizel, who goes 5th with a 1:45.1. So work to do for him there. Rui has gone 5th for a moment because MGK has gone 3rd. Another driver in the high 1 minute 44s. We've got number 555 going through. That is Mertens, only good enough for P21, the slowest of all the times as we speak. We've got the number 48 coming through next. That's Rubber Duck, who's down to 11th position. I would expect this lap to be an improvement on the last attempt. He's going through the last corner now as he heads towards the line. He's 9/10 off the pace at the moment. He's now only 3/10 off the pace. He goes to the front row of the grid for the time being. There's plenty of drivers crossing over the line now. Fighter goes 9th with that lap time. What about the others behind? Are they making improvements? We've got the 152 heading over the line. Don't know who that would be. I think that's Blair, who's just started the flying lap now. So Davis Jr. going over the line. He goes up to 3rd place. It's an improvement by 1/10.5. So the McLaren picking up some pace. What about those? Will Freeman needs a quality qualifying session. He's struggled in qualifying in the last few rounds. Only 21st with that time. Work to do for him. Andy, 20th. Make that 21st now because one of the drivers behind has improved. I think that's the number 444 of Cull, who's gone up to 14th in the Bentley. The number 34 next behind Pavizel, who's gone into the pits actually. So we've got the 911 of Rui heading over the line. No improvement from him. Stays in 10th place. Moggs goes 9th with a 1:44.9. Law has gone to the top with a 1:44.3. Just only realised that. So Law setting the benchmark for everyone else to beat with over 8 minutes remaining. And we've got the 1:44 coming through towards the last couple of turns now. That is Nils, who's in 14th place now. Runs wide, so that will be that lap invalidated, unfortunately. He'll go again though. So Nils heading over the line to start his lap. He goes to the 95 that is just behind. I'm trying to recognise who that 95 there. That's Busov, who's now 2nd. So improving onto the front row is Busov. So he's improving. And who else is moving up the timing pages as we speak? Can't see anything at the moment. So we've got the number 5 Ferrari coming through. That is Milden, who is only 5th. As we've got Freeman, who needs to find a radical improvement from somewhere. And he's only 22nd right now. There's a couple of drivers still yet to post a lap time so far. Got the 99 of Moritz coming through. Is he going to improve on the time from before? The answer is no, so he stays where he is in P9. Got the 911 heading through. That is Rui, who's 8/10 off the pace as we speak. Made that over half a second now because he's gone up to 6th place. So that's a big improvement. And we've just seen someone go up the timing pages now. That is MGK, who goes up to 5th. So Rubber Duck down to 8th place. He's coming through the last turn now. So is this going to be an improvement from before. And the answer to that question is no, it's not. So he stays in 8th. Now, can the 144 of Nils improve on his 18th position? It's likely that he will. The track is picking up as there are more and more cars out on track. So Nils heads over the line now, and it's not an improvement. What about the 95 right behind? That'll be Busov. No improvement, stays where he is. We've got one of the FRL Admin Elite Motorsport drivers coming through. Couldn't recognise who that was. I think that might have been Robinson coming through. He's 14th as we speak. He's actually got the same lap time as what Ray Thomas has done. So both of them with some work to do to keep their slim hopes of the championship alive. And Blair 18th at the moment. Just the two drivers yet to get a lap time on the board. They are both out on the circuit, so we should expect lap times from both of those two in a moment. They are Glover and Aldori. So no changes at the moment at the front. Rui has... Or has someone moved up the order? I think Moritz has gone 5th actually. So Moritz up to 5th place. He was 9th for a moment, but he's improved up to 5th place. Rui in the Mercedes AMG. No improvement from him. Stays in P8. We've got the number 5 of Ben Milden coming through now. Less than 4/10 off the pace. He's not been able to shrink that down. He remains on the 4th row. Got the 555 coming through next on the track map. That is Mertens, who does not improve his time. He's got a lot of work to do from there. And we're not seeing improvements as we speak. We've got the 144 that's coming through. Nils is trying to get an improvement done. He's down to 20th place now, would you believe? So Nils not quite setting the pace as what we saw from him in practice early on. Up to 14th now, so that's a respectable effort. He was able to find a couple of 10s on that effort. We've got the number 22 coming through over the line now. That is Hutchinson, who's in 23rd place. And I don't think he was able to improve, so he stays where he is. Robinson's 8th now, so Robinson continuing to find some pace. He was on the same lap time as what Ray did earlier, but he's managed to find a couple of 10s, so that's a good effort. But there's still time. 4 minutes to go. Law in 2nd place. Drifter's gone to provisional pole, but what can Law find on this lap? Nothing. Stays in P2. Number 15 coming through. That is Aldori, who's looking to get his first representative time on the board, and he goes 25th. So a couple of seconds off the pace, unfortunately. This is Glover, the only driver without a lap time on the board now. And gets his first time, only P27. So Glover trying to improve. Don't think he managed to get that many laps in, to be honest with you. So he's going to find himself, I think, one of those just picking up the pieces should other drivers fail during the course of tonight, as we've seen from him in the past. He's had some respectable races in the past as Brandon. Look at what we've seen from him in the past. His best qualifying from what we've seen from him has been 19th, and that was last week at Alton Park. I think we only had like 22 or 23 runners, or maybe 24 actually, so he wasn't plumb last. So he could do with getting another lap time in if he can, providing he's got enough fuel on board. And in the races for Brandon, he finished 11th on 2 occasions. So I think in terms of his racecraft, that's where he's benefiting more from instead of his single lap pace. Well, this is Drifter now in the 144-1, in the low 1-minute 44s, as I was going to say, as I had predicted. But can he go even quicker with this lap? No, he can't. Stays where he is. Now Moggs has gone over the line. He was in the top 10 some time back, but he's fallen well down the order. And I'm just looking to see where he's fallen down. He's outside the top 10. He's down to 14th place. It just shows how much, or how quickly, things can change in a matter of minutes. But the 3-2-1 of Frank coming through. We haven't seen too much of him so far in this qualifying session. I think this is the first time we've seen from him tonight. He's 11th at the moment, so he's progressing well in the 3-2-1 McLaren. And we've got the 51 coming through the last turn, which is LJ, who did okay last week, it has to be said, looking at how he got on. He qualified 23rd and finished in 15th at Alton Park. He's 18th at the moment in his qualifying session. Bearing in mind, we've got Kevin McKenzie who's just joined in the last minute. He was practicing earlier because I did see him before we went live, but he's left himself with a lot to do, and I think he's only going to get one shot at it. So Drifter's still fastest by a tenth, but there's still time for things to change. Rapid Duck is in 4th place now, so he's made an improvement from earlier. Cole has gone 11th fastest in the Bentley, so he's progressing nicely. Morris is 7th in the Mercedes AMG. Davis Jr. is in 6th. MGK 5th. Frank's down to 12th place now. Fighter at 14th. We've got the 58 crossing over the line now, which will be Ray, who needs an improvement. And he does not improve, so this will be his last attempt. Oh, he gets nudged from behind, though. He will not be very happy with that. He won't have been very happy with his qualifying session anyway. So he will start from 16th place now or lower. It's disappointing from Ray because, you know, the last few rounds he's competed, he hasn't exactly been on form, and his highest finish in the last 4 races he's competed in has been 13th. Contrast that to the opening 2 rounds of the championship where he finished 3rd at the Hungaroring and Suzuka. The checker flag is out now, so these will be the last laps of which the drivers will be posting. Drifter and Law won't be improving as they are in the pits. We saw the 51 go over the line. That is LJ's got to 12th place now. Ben Milden not able to improve, so he stays in P7. Got the number 15 heading over the line now. Is this going to be an improvement from before? The answer is no by the looks of it. Now, who has improved? Well, Robinson's 9th at the moment. We've just seen Davis Jr. go up to 2nd place now. So Davis Jr. was able to find time in the last moments of this qualifying session. Rapidoc is in 3rd place now. Law down to 4th. This is Busov with his last attempt. He clicks the wall, unfortunately. So that has ruined all that effort there from Busov. So he will start no higher than 5th. Got the number 34 of Papizel, who is looking for an improvement, but I don't think he's going particularly quick here. He's only 19th. Less than a second separating the top 20. Would you believe that? No, I don't think Papizel is going anywhere near as quick as what we've seen from other drivers. I think he's going into the pits now anyway. So we'll go to McKenzie because he is the only driver who hasn't set a lap time. Going through the last corner now, you can see the car sliding on the entry, which will compromise his exit. But he's heading over the line now, and McKenzie goes 22nd. Not bad, actually, considering he'd only just come back out in the last moment. So at the end of qualifying, it is Drifter, one of the reserve drivers for tonight, on pole position here at Watkins Glen. Davis Jr. will be on the front row alongside him with Rapidoc and Law next up. Then it's Busov and MGK in 5th and 6th. Milden and Morex in the Ferrari and Mercedes AMG in 7th and 8th, with Robinson and Rui rounding out the top 10. Cole and LJ are next in 11th and 12th. Frank and Fighter are on the 7th row ahead of Clayton and Moggs. Ray is in 17th ahead of Nils. Pavizel in a disappointing 19th position ahead of Blair in 20th. Makovsky and McKenzie are on row 11, with Andy and Hutchison on the 12th row. Freeman in a really shocking 25th place with it all to do. Mertens in 26th ahead of Glover, ahead of Aldori, who makes up the 28th and final position on the grid. Now, it's an interesting qualifying session, and I think it's about to get even more interesting in the race. Can Rapidoc extend his margin in the championship over his closest rivals? You'll soon find out when the race is about to begin. I would say he'll just want to keep his car out of trouble at the start. It's not where it's going to be won, but it's where it can be lost. There is a mandatory pit stop involved, where you have to change tyres. No need to refuel if you don't want to. It is optional. But we'll wait and see as the race kicks on. And hello to Brandon, who's joined in the live chat. Thank you very much for getting involved. If you do wish to get involved in the live chat, by the way, then do please get involved and feel free to ask any questions if necessary. I'll be willing to answer them during the course of the broadcast. As we're just waiting for the cars to get back onto the grid. So Rapidoc goes into the race with a 37-point lead in the championship. With Vodka not around this evening, he could well be increasing that lead and putting one hand on the championship trophy, even with a round to spare. There's still 2 races to go after this round, one at Spa and the last one being at Imola. In regards to next season, in terms of when it's going to start and which circuits we are going to be going to, I don't have the answer to those questions. What I do hope to see is that the drivers are going to be sticking around for next season as well, because they've put on some brilliant racing during the course of the season so far. Whether they are a full-time driver or a reserve, it's wonderful to see them dedicating their time to come and race. So can Drifter get off to a good start? There will be a rolling start. There will be the formation lap first. And there will be a rolling start once the drivers head over the line. Or when the racer crosses over the line, we should see the green flag fall. Let us know who you are rooting for. Ben Milden seems to have a fan watching along. So we're about 30 seconds to go. Air temperature of 16 degrees centigrade, or Celsius I should say. 19 degrees Celsius track temperature. We'll run down the order of the grid. And 10 seconds remaining. And then Drifter will lead the field off the grid for the start of the race. So rundown on the grid then. Drifter on pole position in the Lamborghini with Davis Jr. alongside in the McLaren. We've got Rapidoc and Law in 3rd and 4th places. Busov is 5th, ahead of MGK in the Ferrari in 6th place. We've got Milden in the next Ferrari in 7th place, ahead of Moritz, with Robinson and Murray rounding out the top 10. We've got Cole and LJ next behind in 11th and 12th. Frank and Fighter are next in 13th and 14th on the 7th row. Clayton and Moggs are 15th and 16th, with Ray and Nils next behind. Bizzle and Blair rounding out the top 20. Mikowski and Mackenzie are 21st and 22nd, with Andy and Hutchinson on the 12th row. Freeman and Mertens are next, with work to do, with Glover and Aldori making up the 28 starters. So it'll be a 1 hour race. Should see plenty of action up and down the field. Just looking to see, there seems to be changes in position across the sectors at the moment, which there shouldn't be. I think Bizzle might have had a spin or something on the formation lap. He's trying to get back into his position now anyway, so the sectors, well, the positions will update again by the time they go through sector 2, which will be on the exit of the next corner that the leaders are going through now. So Drifter leading. Davis Jr. get a positive result out of this? He really needs a strong result here tonight. He's 2 points off Rocky Duck. He's behind him on the grid. And Davis Jr. has already missed a race, so he doesn't need to drop a score. Rocky Duck has also missed a race, so he doesn't need to drop any scores. So can Drifter convert his pole position into the race win? There's no one seemingly going to be starting from the pit lane, as far as I know. So Drifter leading the field round. 28 drivers bunching up now in their rows of 2. Drifter with his radical designed Lamborghini will hope to bring him good luck here in the USA in Watkins Glen, New York. We wait for the green flag to wave, and we are off! Drifter seems to have reacted well. Davis Jr. not as much. And there's Rapidoc on the inside. But Davis Sr. keeps hold of his second place. So Rapidoc has to settle for third for now, as they all made their way through the winding bends. This is turn 2 that they're going through now. And turn 3 uphill. As they look to settle into the race, the inner loop is the next tricky section that's coming up after this back straight. So Drifter leads ahead of Davis Jr. and looking at Rapidoc, is under threat from Law, who goes to the outside as they come towards the inner loop now, but Rapidoc keeps hold of the position ahead. Look further down the field to see if there's anything happening further behind. I think we seem to have had a clean start from all the drivers, so no one's spinning around at the start, which is great to see. Everyone getting through safe and sound. So Drifter in the lead, Davis Jr. is second, Rapidoc ahead of Law, Busov, MGK is 6th, Milden, Morris, Robinson and Fighter, your top 10 as we speak. As they come towards the second sector. Just looking to see who's made up ground at the beginning. Mackenzie's made up a few positions at the start, but Bizzle's lost a couple of places. Mikowski's at the back. He's had a terrible start. The Drifter coming towards the end of the first lap. No problems so far. I wonder if there's any drivers that might have picked up damage on that first lap. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they have. But so far, so good. As we look at Law, who's making a move on Rapiduck on the inside. There's a bit of boarding being kicked up. And Law has got ahead of Rapiduck. So he's got through into third place. That was a nice move there from the Mercedes driver. We saw Moritz make a move as well, but he's picked up damage. He's hit the barrier. As Moritz, he's lost places. He's out of shape. And that will see him into the pit lane at the end of the second lap. We're watching further in front as we watch LJ get in on the act. Oh, he's hit one of the cars into the wall. Couldn't tell who that was. Was that Fighter or Cole? Let's go. It's Cole. He's hit the wall. Is he out of the race? He's getting the car into the reverse. Oh, that's terrible up for Cole. After a brilliant qualifying. I think Rapiduck has dropped back as well. So Rapiduck is falling down the order. Has he had a coming together with Law? No, I don't think he has. I think he's hit the wall somewhere, and that's the championship leader. The windscreen and the bonnet's damaged, and there's another car in the wall. Looks like Ray has hit the wall as well. So it's all kicking off on the second lap. The first lap was clean. The second lap, far from that. So Rapiduck will be in the pits. Ray will be in the pits. Cole will be in the pits. And Moritz will be in the pits at the end of the lap. And I think Frank has hit trouble as well. After a good start, he's dropped down the order. He must have had a spin somewhere. But it's all going in the way of Davis Jr. as well, because he can claw back in the championship race should he pick up good points. And Rapiduck hardly gets any. So as we come towards, there's two cars in the pits. Now, we've got Robinson in the pits already. I think he's picked up damage also. So Robinson's been in the wars, as have Morris. Had those two come together, I wonder? It could well be the case. Moggs is in the pits. He's picked up damage. Rapiduck is also in, as is Cole. So we've got a total of 5 cars in the pits at the end of the second lap. We'll go back to the action, particularly in the midfield, because that's picking up as we see Blair dropping back after a mistake. Hutchinson under threat now from Mackenzie, who's trying to make a move as they have gone through the first set. This is the battle for 13th position. So Hutchinson looking to hold his ground and stay in front of the Lexus. Further behind, there was a bit of contact, and Glover is up to 15th place now, so he's done well to keep himself out of trouble in the opening couple of laps. Rapizzle's 16th now. Aldori is further ahead. So I think Aldori should see him update further on the graphic. And I think that's Aldori dropping back actually. Oh, it might be McCoskey actually. He's really hit trouble on this lap. He just needs to get back into the rhythm really, as he looks to get past Ray, who didn't come into the pits at the end of the last lap. He feels he's able to carry on for now. But this is lap 3 done, with Drifter still in the lead, as Law's been overtaken by Busov on the last lap. So Busov up to 3rd place, a drive-through penalty given out to number 99. That is Morex. So Morex, who hit trouble last week at Alton Park, has hit trouble again here at Watkins Glen. He just needs to be very careful. He does not get in the way of the leaders as they go through turns 2 and 3. So he'll be back in the pits to serve that drive-through within the next 3 laps, unfortunately, will Morex, which will put him further out of sync. At least he'll stop him getting in the way of the leaders, or those that are a lap ahead of him. But that is certainly not an ideal situation to put yourself in. And Rapiduck is still in the pits also. He's been in there for some time, but he's getting going now. But he's behind Cull, and he's down in last place, and a lap down. So Drifter still in P1. Davis Jr. with the fastest lap of the race so far in P2. There is a lapped car ahead of them. That will be Robinson. He's looking to keep hold of that place. He's already made his mandatory stop, remember, so he will not want to have to get out of the way, Will Robinson, but I think he will be reluctant to, because he will not want to get involved in the action that's going on that's nothing to do with him. And we're coming up to 5:30 now at Watkins Glen, so I wonder if the race may hit darkness by the time the checker flag comes out. It may not do. We'll just have to wait and see. MGK's in 5th, ahead of Ben Milden. So MGK's had a reasonable start to this one as Moritz comes in to get his drive-through penalty done. Hopefully he's slowed the car down before he hit the 50 km/h pit lane speed limit. And Drifter seems to have set an identical fast start time as he's on the threat. Well, I thought it was on the threat from Davis Jr., but that's actually Robinson who's down the lap now on the leaders. He will need to move out of the way of Davis Jr. who's coming through. We've got what looks like 3 drivers in the pits now. Ray, Blair and Makovsky all coming in. So they're done. They're getting their stops done now and out of the way. They'll hope to get out before the leaders get round, because they will not want to get out of the way of, by adhering to blue flags. So Davis Jr. I think has lost ground to Drifter by being stopped behind the BMW of Robinson. The gap is nearly 2 seconds. So we're on lap 5 of this race. Drifter leads, Davis Jr. second. Busov, Law, MGK and Milden are the next 4 drivers back in terms of position. LJ's up to 7th place now. So LJ, in his second race in this tier, Taco Tuesday, doing a superlative job. It could get even better later on. Fighter is 8th, ahead of Rui and Nils. Andy's in 11th, ahead of Hutchinson. Mackenzie 13th. Then we've got Clayton Glover, who's 15th now in the Jaguar. And he's closing up behind on Clayton in the fight for 14th place, but he's also under threat from Aldori and Bavizel. And Law with the fastest up of the race now, and he's right behind Busov in the battle for 3rd place as they go onto the back straight. Now Law going to the outside. Is this going to be a change of position? That'll be very brave. He can do it there. He'll force Busov into the mistake, but Busov had a tidy line through the inner loop, and he's managed to keep hold of 3rd place. So this is a tasty battle brewing up. Busov keeping hold of the final step of the podium. And Glover is kept hold of 15th place at the moment. Aldor is right behind. Bavizel's there. Mertens has kept himself out of trouble as well. He's 18th. Freeman only 19th, but at least he's kept his car out of trouble. He's got a lot of work to do throughout tonight's action. So there's Law. Hustling the Audi of Busov, who won't give this one up without a fight. There is a back marker ahead of him that may intervene with what's going on. As Busov, Law running wide there, going through the penultimate turn as they come towards the pit straight. There is a yellow flag, and that's because there's a driver in the pits, and that's Blair, who has been in the war somewhere, and I think that could well be his race done. So Blair becomes the first retirement of the race. Drifter with a lead of 3.5 seconds over Davis Jr. in 2nd place. Busov still in front of Law. And then we've got a battle for 5th place hotting up between MGK and Milden. Milden approaching, going for it, doing the dummy, but MGK is not quite falling for it. You can see the driver's headlights have been switched on, so they feel that it could well get dark before the race is over. We'll have to wait and see. So Drifter out in front. Davis Jr. He was 3.5 seconds behind at the beginning of the lap. It's 3.6, so it's gradually getting bigger for Drifter. His fighter in 8th place. As we've got Hutchinson in P11 now, ahead of Mackenzie. So Hudson looking for another good result, although Mackenzie perhaps will have other ideas. Seven laps completed by the race leader. In regards to the number of laps we could well be completing, I would probably say it's going to be at least 30. I know that for a fact. Probably looking at around 35 or 36. We'll wait and see. As we watch Busov and Law continuing to do battle for 3rd place still. Law was very close there, makes a bit of contact with the Audi, and he's managed to get through. Now, Busov will not like that because he'll have felt he would be nudged off the circuit, but Law will keep hold of the place for now. So Law up to 3rd place and on a charge. Milden still in 6th. LJ closing in on the half a dozen drivers ahead of him in terms of position. Mackenzie is in front of Hutchinson now, despite the damage he's picked up on the bodywork of it. Oh, you can see contact made between himself and Nils nearly collected another car on the exit of turn 10. Is he out of the race? I think he is. Mackenzie's carried on, but Nils hit the barrier and collected Mackenzie as he rebounded back onto the circuit. That's disastrous there for both drivers. So Mackenzie will be in the pits at the end of this lap. I am sure of it. At least he'll get his mandatory stop done now, but this is not ideal. You can see he's clipping the wall. You can see the car is struggling to turn into the corners properly. Yeah, he must come in, surely. Yeah, you can see he's struggling to get the car turned in. Oh, that's not very good from Mackenzie. He's just slowed down. And he's reversed into the pit lane as well. I think it was Glover that nudged him, but I can't blame Glover for that. Mackenzie should have stayed to the right going into the last turn. He should have just stayed to the right, because if he knew he was going straight to the pit lane, he should have stayed on the right, and then Brandon would have known he would have gone into the pits anyway. So it's a very unsafe manoeuvre there from Mackenzie. As Clayton looks to make a move on Andy for 11th position, and he goes through without any contact. So it's a very clean overtake there from Clayton. Now I can imagine Mackenzie will get penalised as well, because the way he reversed into the pit lane, he'll have broke the pit lane speed limit. So by the time he comes out of the pits, the drive-through penalty will be dished out to him, if not a stop and go. No such worries for Drifter so far. Come around to complete his 9th lap of the race. Now Nils has left the session now, but he'll go down as a non-finisher anyway. Mackenzie in the pits, and Blair isn't going to be continuing either, so we've lost 2 cars from this race now. I wonder if Mackenzie will choose to carry on, despite the circumstances. So Drifter's lead is nearly 4 seconds. Laura's in 3rd place at the moment. MGK still holding off Milden as LJ continues to close in. So Fighter in P8, Rui in 9th. And Hutchison's a further 9 seconds off these two. He's coming up behind what looks like Ray, who's already pitted. And yeah, a stop-and-go penalty has been given to Mackenzie. I just knew it would happen, unfortunately. So that'll be him into the pit lane within the next 3 laps again to get that stop-and-go penalty done. Now, regardless of where you finish, you will score points, just not as many as you would have hoped for. Now, Busov is closing up behind Law in the battle for 3rd place. Milden looking to make a move also. Not quite going for it yet. I will tell you that Rapidoc is currently running in 25th place. In the lap times he is setting at the moment as we speak. His best lap has been a 1:45.8, 1:45.8, and then it's 1:46.1 and 1:46.0. So it's still a respectable pace so far. He's posted the best first sector of anyone in this race so far, so he's not out of the frame yet either by any means. Drifter in P1, Davis Jr. in P2, Law in P3, Busov in your top 4 placings. And Mackenzie is in the pits to get that stop and go penalty served. And he'll probably just use this race as so it's a test session for him. Didn't complete that many laps, unfortunately. I don't think he even completed the lap at Alton Park last week. He's well out of sync with the others now anyway. That 30 seconds in the pit lane will feel like an eternity to him. I'm certain of it. Dory is in the pits. This is a genuine pit stop, and the same for Provizzle. And Mackenzie's penalty has been cleared, so he'll carry on his way, albeit a long way behind. So on lap 12, we're a third of the way through the race now. Drifter continuing to impress. He's competed already this season as a reserve. He's competed twice, one of which being the podium finish at round 4 in Kyalami. The other time has been at Paul Ricard, where he finished 10th. So Drifter still going in the lead. See Law closing a little bit. He's pulled away from Busov slightly now, so he's closing on Davis Jr. for P2. And Robinson's got in front of Babizzle and Eldori now, so he's making up places. He should be up to 17th now by the time he goes through sector 1. Even though he is a lap down, he'll be back on the lead lap once the leaders do come in for their mandatory stops. So we'll have to do that at some stage. You see a move going on between Milden and MGK for 5th. And we've got a 30-second stop and go penalty for car number 15, and that's Aldori. So just like Mackenzie, he'll be back in the pits to get that done. So we'll tell you that Hutchinson's in 10th, Clayton 11th. Now the highest of the championship contenders, you have to say, is Davis Jr. 4th going into this round. As it stands with him being in P2 and Rapidoc, who is 24th. Rapidoc would only collect 7 championship points, Davis Jr. would get 38. Which will see the gap come down between him and Rapidoc to 31 points. Long way to go yet, though. Freeman, as it stands, will be out of the championship race, as will Bissell and Blair. MGK would stay in it for the time being, as will Hutchinson. And Vodka will still be in there, albeit with a slim chance of winning the championship. We see Clayton and Hutchinson fight over 10th place as they come towards the back straight. Hutchinson leaves the door open for Clayton to pull alongside, and there's going to be a change in position, I should think. There's a little bit of contact, but Clayton does enough still to get past. So he's through, no problem. And there's Glover in 13th. So the leader's not looking as though they are taking the decision to pit just yet. We're on lap number 15 now, that drift has just started. And Milden's got ahead of MGK at last now. So Milden has got past the Ferrari and he's up into 5th position. But will MGK fight back? He might go for it into turn 1, but he's too far back, I think, to have a go from there. Oh, you can see that it's even track limits there. You don't want to be doing that too many times. I reckon we'll see a few drivers being given track limit penalties later on in the race. At least 2 or 3, I would have thought. MGK carries on regardless, gets into the slipstream of Milden. Which way is he going to go? He's going to go to the outside, I think. Milden will stay where he is to fend off the place. And defends nicely and keeps hold of 5th. Freeman in the pits. He was 15th when he came in. He's had no dramas so far in this race. He's still not had an ideal one. No rain is expected. We didn't have any rain last week at Alton Park, despite the fact that it was under the lights. As we see Davis Jr. going into the pits, slows the car down. And I think McKenzie's back in the pits now as well, so that could well be him out of the race for good. So we've lost McKenzie, Blair, Nils. I think we've lost a 4th driver as well from this race. I couldn't tell who it was that we've lost. Might be Makovsky. No, Makovsky is still in the race. So we've lost Aldori as well, I believe. So Aldori is also out of the race. So Davis Jr. in the pits, Milden in the pits also. So Law will go up to second place for now. LJ also in. We want to look at the battle between Rui and Fighter. 5th and 6th, they are Dyson. Clayton pulling away from Hutchison as well. Andy having a respectable race of it. And Glover's moved off into the top 10, albeit temporarily. So Rapidoc is in 23rd position now. Law is coming up behind Freeman, who's been lapped. So Freeman's already done his pit stop. He's running in 16th. Could be in the frame for a good points finish later on, possibly top 10. If he can find some time on his new set of tyres. Frank coming into the pits in the McLaren. And he'll be hoping to keep himself out of trouble between now and the end of the race. He's not been in any trouble in this one. Luck hasn't been on his side this season so far. Looking at where Frank has finished this season, he's not picked up a lot of results by the looks of it. Frank at the moment, he's done 5 races this season so far with a best finish of 12th at Suzuka. He was in Tier 3 last season, so probably wasn't expecting to be sort of fighting at the front during the course of this season. He's back out on track now. Who's that's coming through? I think Freeman's already gone through. He's ahead of Robinson. So Frank stays in front. And we've got Rui and Fighter pitting at the same time now. Clayton also pitting. Hutchison stays out. So Drifter untroubled throughout this one. And Glover has also pitted in from 10th place. So we've only got 7 drivers left in this race now who need to take their mandatory stops. Drifts is coming up to lap what looks like the Audi of... It's not Papizzle he's trying to lap, is it? No, it's not Papizzle. It's not Freeman. It's definitely not Busov either. But Drifter is in the pits now, as is Law. So Busov and MGK are also in. So could well see Hutchison in the race lead unless he decides to pit in this lap. He's got Andy closing in behind. So one of these two will take the lead at the front unless both of them pit in at the same time. If that's the case, then Mertens could find himself in the lead for once. Now Hutchison stayed out, so he's going to be lead in the race. And it looks like Mertens is holding up Milden, which is entitled to do. This is a back and forth position, remember. Milden gets past now, though. And in fact, he's in front of Davis Jr. So Milden in front of Davis Jr. now, who's getting past the McLaren of Mertens. Struggling to get through at the moment. Law has done his stop now. Drifter has done his stop. He's rejoined in 3rd place. Law should rejoin in 4th. Busov should rejoin ahead of MGK, although MGK will have other ideas, I think. And he's out on his way. So MGK has got ahead of Busov. So Busov has had a slower stop. And he's come out behind him. Mertens is in the pits now. So we've only got 2 drivers left that need to take their mandatory stops. And Rapiduc is up to 22nd place now, 17.5 seconds behind the next man ahead of him, and that's Cole. Revizol battling out with Moritz for 23rd, although he's got Devis Jr. trying to lap him. Stays out of the way, and wisely so. And the time we're looking at now is 6:21. It says on the screen. And we've got the top 2 in the pits now. Both Hutchinson and Andy are in the pits. So Drifter will take back the lead. So Drifter starting his 20th lap. Law will go through. He's got Rapiduc behind him, who's a lap down, and Rapiduc will want to try and get back on the lead lap. So will Law fight this out with him? He probably won't want to do. He may decide to just let Rapiduc go anyway. So we've got Hudson and Andy in the pits. So Milden's gone through, Davis Jr. has gone through, MGK has gone through, Busov has gone through. Andy has done his stop now. Is he going to go in? He's going to go in front of Hudson. No, I don't think he will. Hudson gets out ahead. In the last garage in the pit lane as well, which can help it, I suppose, at times. He's out behind Fighter, who's already pitted. He's in front of LJ, though. So Hudson's a long way up the road, actually. So Hudson rejoins in 9th place now. Now Rapiduc, how far is he behind Cole as he approaches the 2nd sector? Let's have a look. Oh, he's 19 seconds. He's too far behind. So with all the stops completed now, as it stands in the championship, with Davis Jr. running in 4th place, that will net in 34 points, and with Rapiduc in 22nd, that would give him 9. The championship gap would come down. Now, Davis Jr. will, of course, move up into 2nd place. So the gap would come down to 37. Vodka would fall 46 points behind, so he would still be in the frame for the title. And Morex would still be in there. He's behind Rapiduc, so he'd fall a further point back. Freeman is currently running in 12th place, so he would close in a little bit. So he'd close down the gap to Rapiduc to 68 points. Rabizzle would still stay in it. Oh no, he wouldn't actually, bearing in mind. He's running in 24th. There's no way he's going to be coming back into a high scoring position. He's fighting out with Morex for 23rd place though, so at least he's still got something to get on with. And Law is in 2nd He's, well, Law is in second place, 11 seconds behind. I was going to say, he's got the fastest up of the race now. Well, he's had the fastest up of the race since lap 5. Don't get any points for that. I will tell you that Milden is up to third place after all the stops. So he's on course for a good result. Davis June down to 6th place though. He has lost ground, so I'm not sure exactly what's happened. He's lost places to MGK and Busov as well, so that changes the situation in the championship slightly. He's dropped 4 points in all of that, so he would only collect 30 points now for finishing 6th. So he would close the gap to 32 points. No, it's not. So he would collect 30 points. Rapidoc would get only 9. So that's 21 points difference. So it would be 41 points the gap in the race for the title. No, Davis Jr. has missed a round. Moritz hasn't missed a round, so he would need to drop a point score as it stands. Fuvka will have missed a round tonight because he's not around. Now, MGK with his 4th place finish as it stands would give him 34 championship points, which would move him on to 179. He would close down the gap between himself and Rapidoc to 56 points. He would move in front of Vuvka. He would move in front of Freeman as well. And there's Drifter with over 20 minutes to go. 10.5 seconds is the gap to second place man Law. Now, if he was to collect 38 championship points compared to where Rapidoc is going to finish, he would close down the gap between him and Rapidoc from what is currently 96 to 67. So Law would still mathematically stay in the hunt for the championship with 82 points left on the table. It's looking very good for Drifter. He's not in the running for the championship by any means. He wants to get every good result that he can get to put him in preparation for next season, possibly. Four retirements so far. Aldori, McKenzie, Blair and Nils. All the drivers out of the race. And Davis Jr. is back up to 5th place now. It's good news for his championship hopes. I think Busov has had a spin somewhere, but Davis Jr. won't care. He's 3.6 seconds behind 4th place man NGK, so he could do with catching up with him and get a couple of points back. As Moritz goes for a spin behind. Did Busov avoid him? Well, Busov's a long way back actually. I think Pabizzle got through, but Moritz has gone for a spin. So Pabizzle's moved up a position. Milden and MGK in 3rd and 4th. Davis Jr. not giving up just yet. Still enough time for things to change. And Ray has dropped down the order to 20th place. He's not had a good one tonight, to be honest with you. And Moggs hasn't had the best time of it either. Both of these are race winners, of course. They're not going to be Neither of them are going to be a race winner tonight. So at least it keeps the championship fight going. As Drifter laps Moggs. The gap is 9.9 seconds. It's gradually decreasing, but I think all Drifter will care about is just bringing the car home without any mistakes. Now Glover running in 14th position behind Frank. That's a respectable performance from him. So Davis Jr. coming round to complete his 24th lap. He's less than 4 seconds behind MGK, so he could do with closing down that gap and put a little bit of pressure on. There's Morex. You remember he had to come in and get that stop and go penalty after speeding in the pit lane, which put him well out of contention. See Drifter coming up behind back markers as Friedman's got himself up to 11th position now. He's having a respectable second half of the race. We're seeing Frank trying to make a move on LJ as well. Brando Glover will get into this in a moment or two. And Laura's closing down the gap again, 9.1 seconds now. This is going to motivate him for sure. Although Drifter has had to make his way through back markers. Drifter hasn't, or Lawson, I should say, hasn't caught up to those back markers yet. Wonder how kind they will be to him. Probably not as kind as he'll want them to. So it's 8.9 seconds through sector 1. Davis Jr.'s got the gap down to 3 seconds by the end of the previous lap. It is now 2.7. It's been a respectable performance from Davis Jr. This evening. Could have done with the podium. Suppose down the arrears in the championship fight between himself and Rapidoc, which is very unlike Rapidoc. Would have expected him to be at the front tonight, but after his melodies on lap 2, wasn't able to progress. The gap is down to 2.4 seconds almost, and I think Busov is under pressure from Fighter now as well. Similar liveries these two have got, but in different cars. Busov is in an Audi and Fighter is in a Mercedes AMG. The gap is 8.3 seconds between Drifter and Law. In regards to how many laps we've got left, I would probably say we've got about 8 laps to go. So 8 laps for Law to close down the gap and get past Drifter for the win. Now Law has already tasted victory this season at Paul Ricard. He could do with another one here to put a smile back on his face. He wasn't in last week at Alton Park. He's missed a couple of rounds this season as he wasn't around for Suzuka, unfortunately, either. Now he's coming up behind. He'll be coming up behind Moggs in a moment. But what is the gap by sector 2? I expect it to be considerably reduced. It's 8 seconds. So the gap is gradually coming down. Two seconds is the gap also between MGK and Devers Jr. It's now 1.9. Moggs stays out of the way of Law. Law will be thankful of him for that. Moggs running down in 21st position. Milden in 3rd, MGK in 4th. Devers Jr. well ahead of Busov, who is in a battle of his own with Fighter, and Hutchison will soon be closing in on these two. Busov has struggled on this second stint. He's not had the best time of it. I wonder if he may have clipped the wall somewhere and that's affected the performance of the car. And Ray staying out of the way of his teammate that's gone through. The gap is coming down to 7.4 seconds through sector 1. Law is gaining. He needs to gain more though. He's got another back marker ahead of him to get through, which is Colt, who is in 19th place. If Law can just concentrate on putting in some consistent laps, he might just have a chance. The gap is down to 7.8 seconds in sector 2. As Fighter's got past Busov now for 6th. So Fighter's got ahead of Busov on the back straight, and he's now put himself up into 6th position. Can Hutchison follow suit and get through into P7? Busov will be under threat in a moment. And I think Glover's got in front of LJ now for 11th place. Very interesting because Freeman's dropped back and so has Frank. So Glover all of a sudden has made up a few positions and he's up into P11. This is a respectable drive from Glover. Remember, he started at the back of the grid. Despite putting in a representative time, it was a representative time that he put in, but he's kept himself out of trouble and he's put himself up into P11, so hats off to him. The race isn't over yet though, so he just needs to keep calm, not get carried away. And the gap between Drifter and Law is continuing to come down. It's 7.3. Law is closing down the gap. You can see how hard he's pushing as he uses the outside curb to help give him the traction he needs coming out of the slower corners. He's coming down into turn 11, approaching the Bentley of Colt, and it's 7.4, so the gap is pretty stagnant at the moment. I can tell you that Devastation is closing all the time, 1.5 seconds behind MGK. There's not long left, but he can do it and get those 2 points back. And Rapiduck is a long way behind Moggs. The gap is 11.4 seconds, so I doubt that Rapiduck is going to have any hope of getting past him and getting another point. For the sake of his championship, we can see that was a car clipping the barrier behind Drifter. I think that might have been Cull, who's just letting Law through. So Law is through. 7.2 seconds is the gap at the end of the last lap. 5 laps to go now, I would say. So Law has to dig in deep. He's got to find at least 1.5 seconds in each of these laps, and that's just to catch up to the Drifter. He's got to get the hammer down now if he wants to win this race. There's no back markers between him and Drifter now. He may just have seen him in the background ahead of him. You can see pushing as hard as he can through the inner loop. This is great commitment from Law. 7 seconds. The gap has come down now in sector 1. Milden's in 3rd place still, very content on course to pick up what will be a satisfying podium finish for him and for the Infinite Racing team, of course. Had suffered the loss of Chris Jones, otherwise known as Essa, earlier on in the season last month. I'm sure Milden will have done Essa proud for the performance he's done this evening. And he deserves this podium finish, Milden, for sure, because he's driven beautifully tonight. Davis Jr. in 5th still, but he's closing it all the time. The gap between Drifter and Law is 6.8 seconds. 4 laps to go. It's 1.4 seconds between MGK and Davis Jr. Hutchison is ahead of Busov now. Busov is continuing to struggle. He'll just be begging for the checkered flag to come out now. Couldn't come soon enough for him. Oh, he's hit the wall on the exit of turn 15, and that's not going to help the car at all. Clayton's not far behind, and that 8th place could well be going to him before the checkered flag. Now, Drifter, lapping Mertens. Law is coming up to sector 2 now. It's 6.8. He's not getting enough at the moment. Drifter's just lapped Mertens, so Law will have to get by the McLaren very shortly. .3 seconds is the gap between MGK and Davis Jr. It's now 1.1. The battle is back on again. But the laps, well, the time is ticking down. It looks like Davis Jr. could well be coming over a little bit short, but I'm sure he won't be giving up. Rapidoc. He'll be beginning to get in the way of MGK in a moment, which could give Davis Jr. the chance he needs to get ahead. Oh, MGK getting held up behind Rapidoc, and that's going to give Davis Jr. an opportunity to close in a little bit more now. The gap is 8 tenths. 8 tenths. And Rapidoc isn't moving out of the way of MGK. MGK will not be very happy about this. Now, will Rapidoc stay out of the way this time? He's still ahead of these two. Yeah, he's staying out of the way right now. Davis Jr. is also coming through. And Rapidoc does not interfere. And wisely so. Now, Drifter's lead over Law was 6.7 seconds in sector 1. And it's still 6.7 seconds. But the battle for 4th is raging on now. And Busov is only 3.1 ahead of Clayton. He should be okay with where he is, although having said that, Clayton is closing down all the time. Not long to go left now in this race. We should not go into darkness at all, so the drivers should be okay in terms of the lights. And Rui's got in front of Glover now for 11th position. He barged his way through, heading into the inner loop, and he's got past. So a nice move there from Rui, up to 11th place. That could help the team's championship a little bit for the Tuga Racing team, with Rapid Duck down the order. And with Moritz down the order and Papizzle down the order, that could see the Tuga Racing team ahead in the championship points battle, although the FRL Admin Elite Motorsport squad could have something to say on that, as will ProMotion Motorsport. It's really hotting up now in the team's championship race, and maybe the drivers as well. So Drifter is on his penultimate lap now. Next time around will be the beginning of the last lap. And I think Law will have to settle for second place. It's been a sterling effort, but Drifter has simply been too good today. This will be the first point score for him as a full-time driver. It'll give the Infinite Racing team a massive boost. Freeman will still be getting points for 15th. It's the last lap now for Drifter. Well, I say it's the last lap. He hasn't crossed over the line yet to start the last lap. I just want to look at this battle because Davis Jr. is right on the tail of MGK now, but he's only going to have one more lap to get this move done. There we go. Drifter has started the final lap now, and Law's got the gap down to 5.8. There's no way he's going to close down. Well, he can close down the gap all he likes, but he's not going to get past Drifter now. This battle's far from over though. MGK should do enough, I should think. And Rapid Duck is only 5 seconds behind Moggs, but I doubt he's going to get ahead of him in the next lap. So he'll have to settle for 9 championship points in 22nd position. So Davis Jr. coming up behind MGK. I don't think he's going to be close enough to have a go now, to be honest with you. So he's coming through. The gap is 5.8 between first and second. Davis Jr. cannot find a way past. He's trying everything he can to soak up all the pressure on MGK. He looks for it in the hairpin, cannot get the move done. That's the closest he's been. We've still got another half a lap to go. Davis Jr. wants those 2 extra championship points coming his way. He cannot get the move done. I think that'll be it. We'll go back to the race leader as Drifter is coming through now to complete his final lap. It's been a wonderful race for him. Dominant from start to finish from pole position. Drifter wins in Taco Tuesday here at Watkins Glen. Very, very well done to him. He returns to the top spot in the Formula Racing League in Taco Tuesday. Law crosses over the line in a satisfying second place, just under 5 seconds behind. And there's Ben Milden. This will mean so much to the Infinite Racing team following the loss of Chris Jones a few weeks ago. So we're looking up there in the heavens, watching his replacement perform well on behalf of him. That's going to mean a lot. MGK in 4th ahead of Davis Jr. in 5th. So Davis Jr. will have to settle for 32 championship points. That's not too bad. He'll close down the gap in the championship with Rapid Duck only 22nd here tonight. Fighter will come home in 6th position ahead of Hutchison. He finishes in a satisfying 7th place. Boostov will just hold off Clayton for 8th place. So Boostov 8th, Clayton 9th. Andy will be 10th with Rui ahead of Glover, who's just holding off Frank for the time being. This is going to go right all the way to the checker flag. Frank using all the road and then some to put the Jaguar driver under pressure, but I think Glover will hold this one off. So Glover, as far as I know, this will be his best finish this season. No, it won't be, because he finished 11th on a couple of occasions previously. Glover will hold off Frank for 12th. LJ will be 14th ahead of Freeman. Robinson will be disappointed with 16th. McCoskey 17th. And the last driver on the lead lap. But there's your race winner. Drifter in the Lamborghini. One excellent job from him. Law second for the Mercedes AMG with 2 Ferraris. Next up with Milden third. MGK is in 4th place. Davis Jr. 5th, close down the gap in the championship. Fighter 6th, Hutchinson 7th, Busov 8th, Clayton 9th, and Andy rounding out the top 10. Next, Rui ahead of Glover in 12th. Frank, LJ, Freeman in 15th place. Robinson and Mikowski were the last drivers on the lead lap. Mertens in 18th, Kuhl 19th, and it's Ray Thomas in 20th place. Moggs ahead of Rapiduc for Bizzle, and Moritz were the rest of the finishers. Aldari did not finish, neither did Mackenzie. Nils and Blair also didn't make it to the end. In regards to the championship then, Rapiduc, with his lacklustre performance tonight, sees his championship lead dropped at the expense of Davis Jr. What was 62 points between those two has now come down to, if I get my maths right, it's come down to 39 points with 2 races left. So all Rapiduc needs to do at the next round at Spa is to pretty much win the race, and the championship is all but sealed. The calculations for the team's championship, for me to decide who is in the lead, is going to take too long for me to work out which team is in the lead for that. So you'll have to find out in time for the next race. But if you are involved, the Formula Racing League website will update the points as of who is where in the standings and so on. Thank you very much for watching. Do make sure you like and subscribe. The next round of the championship will be at Spa. Same format. Penultimate rounds. Will the championship be decided there? Make sure you tune in this time next week. I'm Tom Cairns, and I'll speak to you again soon when the Formula Racing League returns.